J.J. Watt skips the wings to head west. Is that good or bad news for the Bills? Plus, are the targets now on the roster or off? And did the Bucs Super Bowl win change your mind about what it takes to take it all? That's all coming up on this week's edition of the Buffalo Plus podcast.
Okay, welcome into Buffalo Plus, our podcast. Mike Catalana, Dan Fetes. I am Jenna Cottrell. We're getting you set. All right, it's full off-season mode for the Bills. J.J. Watt signing with the Arizona Cardinals. He will not be a Bill this upcoming season. Mike, your thoughts and your takeaways.
What do they say when you're getting off the plane? The flight attendants go, bye-bye, bye, bye-bye. That's what I say to J.J. Watt. He's on the owner's plane. Bye-bye. Look, I tweeted it right before we found out he was going to the Cardinals, and I said, man, remember a year ago, Stephon Diggs got traded to the Bills. It was like silence. Mm-hmm. The guy not only came in better than anybody could have anticipated in terms of culture and work, but he elevated it for this team. And I'm looking at J.J. Watt. Look, he's entitled to be J.J. Watt. He's bigger than life. Fine. I don't think the Bills need that in a 32-year-old body with that paycheck. So he may do great with the Cardinals. Go ahead. I'm kind of glad he's not in Buffalo.
Mike, I got to call you out. You just sound like an old man. Like, get off my lawn. Like, this is like he needs to work more and tweet less. Like, it was fun.
No, I agree with Mike, actually.
Yes, this is J.J. Watt has earned the right to have fun with free agency. Like, he has. Who cares? We're following his Peloton, whether that was him or not, or mitochondria. It was fun. Give him a break. He even said it takes him longer to get his DoorDash meal than it is to pick a team. And you want to know what? Give him credit, because nothing came out of his camp from his camp. Nobody saw the Cardinals. And you want to know what JJ was doing? He was trolling on Twitter. Cool. It was fun. It gave us something to talk about. Guys, it gave us something to talk about. What's so wrong about that?
Jenna, you go ahead.
I understand what you're saying. And it was, in the beginning, I was totally for it. I thought it was playful. I thought it was all these things. As it went on, I literally texted you guys and said, like, I don't care, sign or don't. Because I feel like because it's before the start of official free agency, we could only really talk about J.J. Watt. And because of that, and because of the DoorDash things and him,
and he knew it.
Obviously he knew it. And in the beginning, it was fun. But like any joke that goes on for so long, you're like, okay, we get it. I got it. Like, because of that, I felt like as time went on, and I know we said this on the last podcast, I said this on the last podcast. In the beginning, when J.J. Watt was coming out as a free agent cut by the Texans, it was like, Bills need to go after him. They need to get him. He would be able to do so much for the team. As time went on and you got to actually think about it, you're like, he's going to cost a lot of money. And he ended up costing a lot of money. And when you look at how the Bills are strapped under the cap this year and him being older, once you had time to think about it, it's like, okay, I get why the Bills did not end up being the team that he signed with.
Okay, Dan, if we were only talking about the social media presence, I would be with you. I'm not saying it's just because he was doing that. I think it goes to brand. JJ likes JJ. And 100%. I don't think he comes in as that guy to your organization. And I think he's entitled to that. Go sign wherever. I'm not saying, and again, he may do well there. I'm saying is what the Bills have built. I don't know if and I'm not saying shut up and play. No. What do the Bills always talk about? You can be yourself. I just don't like the person in the 32-year-old body making $15 million a year. That's the part I don't like. Hey, JJ, you have earned the right to be JJ and get the money. He'll get his sacks. He'll make his plays. I get that part. But you can get the production without the production, if you follow what I'm saying. And by the way,
100%.
My lawn while you're doing that? Yes.
I get what you're saying about like the price tag. All of those things make sense. But when it was still going on, if JJ was doing all this stuff and his Peloton or KJ's Peloton or whoever's it was, and he landed with the Bills, we'd be like, this guy's great. Like you can't sound like the person that just got dumped because it's like, oh, well, he didn't pick Buffalo. It's like,
no.
I was saying before with the last two podcasts, the money, it's like, don't be desperate for JJ, all of these things.
Yeah.
But Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen and those guys, they're on Twitch and they're doing all these other things. Like, you're allowed to have other fun stuff. Like, I just don't get why everybody's like, oh, I'm enough. Like, Bills fans like, enough of JJ Watt and all these tweets. It was fun. It was entertaining.
Yeah, but I think this goes to show just different personalities. Like Dan, we're not sitting here being the fun police. Like, oh, you can't tweet about it.
Kind of sounds like it.
Nope.
First
those
of all,
guys came in.
You're not understanding what I'm saying, because that's not how I feel. In the beginning, it was really fun. And it was really fun to talk about and really fun to discuss. But after multiple days, weeks of this going on, it was like, yeah, I'm over it. Like, that's great if he wants to play into that. But whenever I go on Twitter and JJ Watt said this and this many letters means this, in the beginning, it was really fun. Yeah. When like people's like when
but that's not JJ for tweeting.
It's like, okay, I'm just tired of it.
No.
But Jenna, were you more annoyed that social media picked it up, or that JJ tweeted the mitochondria thing and then everybody ran with it? Is that JJ's fault, or is that everybody else making it annoying?
Okay, tweeting about mitochondria, like, I just don't know. Yeah, how do you not know that that's what's going to happen?
He also tweeted about
it. He was loving it. It's not like he was like being quiet. I mean, clearly he was putting into it. But Dan, again, this is the difference between you and me. You will tweet in all caps. I don't do that, because we're just different people. So you like to do what you like to do. I like to do what I like to do.
Hold on. I'm going to do my Mel Kiper differently. I'm going to do my Mel Kiper with Dan. Dan. You know, like he's right. Dan, what I'm saying is those guys, look, he is that big personality. Even all the personality of Josh Allen. Now, look, he was a nobody when he came in, but it evolved into becoming that guy. Read the stories. The reason I brought up, about Diggs was even him going to the first workouts, not sure how it was going to go. Guys looking at him, sorry, that's not the way JJ Watt's coming in. He's coming in as JJ Watt. And I'm saying to you, he's entitled to that. I'm not saying, oh man, this guy shouldn't do that. Have a blast. Go to Arizona. Look, it's great weather. They have a good team. I don't know. They could be that team that makes a big step next year. He's entitled to do whatever he wants. But, it just doesn't seem to me like he's this mystic on the Bills that was worth. Get back to this money, the right choice for the Bills. I just was like, okay, he's not playing. They're fine. Go ahead. And going to Arizona just makes him, in a way, kind of irrelevant.
100%. And I've said that about his play. And I tweeted out that the fact that he wasn't going to make them Super Bowl contenders. They're already Super Bowl contenders. I've been saying that since this whole thing, where people are like, they got to get JJ Watt. They got to get him. All of these things. And it's like, he'd be good to get. You would need to get the right price. It wasn't the right price. The end. Like, you move on. Like I said, there's already, Bills Mafia is already on to the next pass rusher, because that's what they think they need. That's fine. Yeah. I just think it was kind of fun that that we hung on. The fact that we were hanging on every single tweet was fun. Was he not supposed to tweet, Jenna? Could he not tweet for 3 weeks? Was he not allowed to?
No, but I mean, he was clearly like reveling in the moment. Like, he would be saying team sayings and stuff like that. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying I got tired of it. Yeah, obviously, and he's not. But I think there's people on both camps. Some people were like, "Oh my god, it was so much fun to see." It was fun in the beginning, and then as things went on, I was like, "Okay, like just make your decision." Because I am that type of person that I like to do my moves in a not outspoken way. Some people are not like that. So when I see someone like dragging it out and making it all about them and like fueling the fire, that's not who I am. So I don't really identify with doing that. I get frustrated by that.
It is hard for us to identify. It is hard for us to identify. It is hard for us to identify with pro athletes.
Yeah, I think it's hard for most people to identify with pro athletes.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about, because you got a lot of pro athletes in that locker room that don't have the resume of JJ Watt, don't have the history of JJ. He is a first ballot Hall of Fame player. What I'm going to do is I look at the Buffalo franchise, and right now, even at the right price, I don't know if he would be a great fit. Look, he plays inside and outside. He has the speed that he once did, but he's still big and strong. He was really good. I mean, there was a lot of things he does well. But I'll make an analogy for you. I'm not looking for a house, but one day my wife says, "Come look at this house." When I mean it was cool, it was like you walked in and you were like, "Oh my God." super cool house, right? And you could see yourself having a party there and all these things. And then I start looking and I'm like, wow, this and that. And I'm going, can we do this? Can we get, and then I start getting into it. And then we go upstairs and like, they never touch the upstairs. So that's a problem. Then I go downstairs and I find something else. And then I realize how much money it costs and we're totally out on it. And I take a breath and then find out that there's all these underlying problems with the house. And I'm saying to myself, the flash was great. J. Watt is great. I think until you get a building, and then it's more sizzle than steak.
100% agree. And I was on that camp, and I never wavered from that. I haven't wavered from that camp since he was cut. And everybody's like, you got to go with JJ Watt. And I was I was on the podcast being like, like for the cost. We said on these podcasts, well, if you're going to get that, then you're definitely not getting Matt Milano. And if you're not getting Matt, what about John Feliciano? Like I've been on that camp the whole thing. Free agency is fun. All the rumors, all that stuff, that is what's fun. That's all I'm saying is that to poo-poo JJ Watt for playing into it, I'm not going to do it. That's fair. You guys can play into it or not like it. I thought it was funny.
I'll make a comparison for you. I love Baker commercials. I think they're
Baker
great.
Mayfield? Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's good at it. And some people will be like, he's working hard enough. He's not. I think that's nonsense. They work on the commercial. You would take them too, and he gets paid, and they do it around this certain time. To me, that doesn't have anything to do with him being on the field. Even this with JJ Watt, I look at it and go, he annoyed me, but I was already sort of on the fence of would he be a good fit with his age and all those things. But I think, Dan, you're turning it into he shouldn't do that. I don't care.
Yeah, no.
I just didn't like it.
I don't think it has to be that like I can enjoy him doing that, but also at a certain point, me being like, okay, I'm kind of done with it. Like I would like you to figure it out. I love the pomp and circumstance of free agency. I'm just saying it doesn't have to be as black and white as you make it. Like I can enjoy it and then get to a certain point where I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I don't really like this anymore. That's how I felt about JJ Watt. In the beginning, I'm like, the Bills should go after him. He would be fantastic. And then after having time to really think about it and let it settle in, it's like, you're right. You made a good point. That means they definitely couldn't sign Matt Milano. What could they do with John Feliciano? What about Darrell Williams? Like guys like that. So once you saw the bigger picture play out.
And also, this isn't JJ Watt, like free agent JJ Watt. This is the JJ Watt that I have heard of, that JJ Watt loves JJ Watt. Like, yes, he has done some amazing things. What he did in Houston after the hurricane, the guy is so giving. Like, there's no question about that. But there have been rumors outside, inside that locker room that have come out that he really loves himself and that he's only cares about himself. And he makes purposeful points to be on camera and have all eyes on him so that we go, did you see JJ do that? Prime example. Deshaun Watson walking off the field at the end of the season, and JJ has to put his arm around him and goes, hey, man, we blew this. We wasted one of your great years. You think that, do you think that was totally selfless? I don't. I think he wanted people to be like, wow, JJ's such a good guy. Did you see what he did for Deshaun? And he loves that. So that's what I'm saying, that this whole thing, this is who JJ Watt is. He loves himself. He wants the attention, and he played into it. The end.
Yeah.
And
all right, well, let's talk about.
I said, well, when you next time you're getting off the plane, just hear, bye. Bye-bye.
I can't wait to be getting off a plane. It'll be a long time. All right, well, let's talk about it then, because with JJ Watt signing with the Cardinals, that means the Bills obviously have more decisions to make. Matt Milano, we know, is going to be testing free agency. Mike, what do you think this Watt not being in Buffalo move, does it do anything to the possibility of re-signing Milano?
All right, that's a good point, the way you phrased it, because it does in this sense. I think when Brandon Beane was either making offers or coming up with offers, he knew if I do this with Watt and we get him signed, we have to make these moves, and this is what we work around. So that comes off the table. But that doesn't alleviate them from making moves, because they still have major moves to make with the salary cap, right? They have to make decisions on. The Matt Milano one is really interesting. We don't really know 100% what Brandon Beane thinks. He gave us a pretty good indication of where he thought it was going to be in his end of the year news conference. And we've talked about this where he referenced the injuries and, he just said he's a very good player and all those kind of things. I think, again, it's another thing that at the right number, you keep the guy. But I think they know that Matt Milano wants to be a free agent because there's big money out there for him, bigger money out there for him. And he deserves the right to get that. And Dan, you've made the point of, the Shaq Lawsons and Jordan Phillips, like there was bigger money out there for them. And there's only so far you're going to go. So to your point, did it change anything? I think it's kind of like they didn't make the impulse buy on JJ Watt, which changes away your whole budget, but they weren't really planning that in the offseason. I'm sure Brandon Beane and the other GMs around the league thought JJ Watt could be out. They might have thought it would have happened later. They might have thought it was a trade, but they might have had, hey, he's out there, so we do this. But he's already had a plan, and I don't think greatly impacted the plan of what they want to do.
I see this Milano deal as, especially as things are coming out still a little bit about who is in on Watt and what money was really thrown around. Supposedly the Bills were close. They were close in money. Now, there could have been JJ wanted to get back with the defensive coordinator. There could have been a bunch of other things. But it surprised me to hear that the Bills were close to the number that Arizona. Now, that could all be a total lie. But it made you think that Beane was going to be more aggressive than we originally thought, that I originally thought. That when it came out at $15 million, and we were like on this podcast going, no way are you going after it at $15 million to go get JJ Watt. But if the Bills were close to $15 million or $16 million, how aggressive now are they going to be with Milano? Because a bunch of people are going, I can't believe that, that they didn't get Watt. Beane is not going to get caught with his pants down here with not a plan B or a plan C or a plan D. And there are still 9 other pass rushers that would help this front seven of the Bills heading into next season. So I'm now starting to think that they might be more aggressive than Milano than I originally thought by how they seemingly handled Watt's situation.
Yeah. I mean, I think it makes you realize, okay, maybe they're going to make more moves to create more money than maybe we thought was expected. That's how I think. I'm like, okay, does that mean that John Brown's definitely gone? Mitch Marks' deal, they want to restructure? Are they going to cut Vernon Butler, Quentin Jefferson? Mike is just shaking his head no the entire time.
No, I think Matt Milano is not impacted by JJ Watt or anybody else. I think Matt Milano is impacted by Tremaine Edmunds. And I still believe that's the case.
Okay. You make this point, which I was listening to another podcast, and they were talking about I don't see Matt Milano being back on the roster. I think they're going to want to go younger, which I understand if you look at it from just the position standpoint. But then I'm like, Tremaine Edmunds would, I frankly feel like, be lost with someone like a rookie coming into the situation. I feel like he would really struggle because we've seen what Matt Milano has done for him. And to have Matt Milano not on the field next to him and to have maybe another guy that's cheaper or someone like that, I feel like the Bills would open themselves up even more to those weaknesses because Tremaine Edmunds still is kind of figuring out his role and finding his place.
And you may be right about that. I think that's the way they're at it. I think what it does is opens them up to see Tremaine Edmunds for who he is. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a rookie. I mean, there could be another veteran that they bring in at a number that can help them for this upcoming year. I want to see what Tremaine Edmunds, because when they pay him, they're going to pay him a lot, right? If they do. Yeah. And I think that is the reason I say he and Milano. I think the Bills are looking at it saying, we got Tremaine Edmunds. We believe in him. He is going to be our paid linebacker. And Matt Milano, they're going to move on from. And Matt Milano is going to get paid somewhere else. If Tremaine Edmunds wasn't on the roster, it might be a different story. I just believe that that's the way of thinking of a 53-plus man roster, that there's only so many guys you can pay and pay well. And Matt Milano knows he's going paid. So he has no rush. All of a sudden, we really been looking at a lot more tape, whatever. We really think Milano back, we're going to offer. Yeah, do that. But I think they already sort of said, we're not going to do that. Matt's going to test free agency. And we this. the second available in free agency, already knows he's something with, and he will be gone. So that's why I say it connects Edmunds in that way. But yeah, you can't leave Edmunds out there, but without help. But also put up or shut up Edmunds. It doesn't guarantee that they have to pay him. If he falls without Milano out there, then is he the guy you really want to pay anyhow?
Yeah, I agree. Well, this will be figuring out what you have in Tremaine.
Yeah. Right. My Watt thing was just, I didn't expect. Beane even said during his end of the year press conference, we're not going to make some big free agent signing and all of these things. It leads me to believe more that he may be more aggressive and be more willing to open his pockets for one player than I originally intended, because the fact that they were in the mix on Watt and they weren't trying to lowball him. Like it wasn't like, we have not heard about what the Packers number was. We've not heard about what the Browns number was, but we have heard. Now, whether that is all hearsay and rumor, I get it. But to at least hear that the Bills were in the mix and that they were close to the number. And I know I've heard that the Colts were over what Arizona wanted, what Arizona's offer was. So different kind of circumstances there. But that's what I took away from it, is that Beane could be more aggressive with one player than we originally thought.
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah,
for sure.
Right, but there were also reports that had 5 other teams higher than the Bills, that all these teams were in. Look, there's a lot of nonsense out there. And again, we can all listen to a story and then come up with the part that you want of it. We don't know for sure. There's so much with the agents out there. Did the Bills throw out a number? It could have been, but it was between that and saying, here's what's on the table, 2 years, $30 million, this much, because we all know too, we keep throwing this 15, 16. That's not the guarantee on the deal. That's the agent number on the deal. What's the guaranteed on it? It was like 23 something million. Like that. And then I'm sure something else that goes. So like, again, it could work out great for Arizona. What about them is, they got some others there in Arizona. And by the way, I talked from Arizona saying, would they be interested in Deshaun Watson? Would they deal Kyler Murray?
That was my thought. Who says no? Who says no if it's straight up Kyler for Deshaun? Who says no first?
Houston, definitely.
Yeah, I would be.
Watson is much better than Kyler Murray. But it's got to be Deshaun's a better player. I mean, come on.
Yeah. All right.
Deshaun can throw the ball. Kyler is good, but he's not Deshaun. Yeah. Not yet, at least. And he's 5 feet tall.
We know more about Deshaun, obviously, considering he's an older guy. It would be funny, sure.
Older.
Your mic is cutting out. So I'm going to go to Dan because we've talked about maybe having a Zach Ertz or someone like that come in terms of the tight end room, because I think, the Bills made it a point to say at the end of the season press conference that they were frustrated. They wanted to see more production. We know Dawson Knox is going to be going into his third year. No.
Third year.
Third year?
Third year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just what to make of that. But I didn't know if there was a guy that came to mind for you, Dan, of maybe someone that maybe we haven't talked about that would pique the Bills' interest.
Yeah, Mike's been on Zach Ertz. I've been on Jonnu Smith from Tennessee. Again, just another guy that can improve the position. Again, not as dynamic as Kelsey, but nobody's really as dynamic as Kelsey. But like when you start to compare people, you want to try and find something. Is that in the draft? But like I said, the Bills are going to need to draft a starter with one of their first 2 picks that is going to probably have to come in and play right away, because you're just not going to be able to sign a pass rusher, a tight end that's going to start a linebacker. Like, you're going to have some youth at one of these positions. Like, if we're addressing the holes, whether it's left tackle or right guard, like, we're sitting here with these holes and it's so easy to talk about free agents on the market. Like, now that they've missed out on Watt, like, now the next name is Carl Lawson from the Bengals that everybody's talking about. There's Yannick Ngakoue still out there, Melvin Ingram, Shaq Barrett, like Ryan Kerrigan, people have thrown out to me. The list goes on and on. Like, that's why somebody goes, well, Watt is exactly what they needed. It's like there are younger and cheaper Watts out there.
Yeah.
They aren't 3-time defensive player of the year, guys. I get that. But there are still pieces that I am sure Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have vetted and said, okay, if our number doesn't land and we don't get Watt, we've got plans B and C. I would bet my student loans on it that that they have backup plans for Watt.
Farm.
You can't bet your student loans.
I wish. They won't accept it. But
hey, by the way, tight end was an interesting one you brought up. And I was reading some draft people going through it. And they basically described the tight end position of saying Kyle Pitts is a unicorn. Correct. Over and above anything in the draft. Yeah. And that it's hard to find first-year starter in the rest of the draft with tight end. So I think if in that position, to your point, if you are looking for a guy that's better than Dawson Knox, I think it's going to be a free agent of some sort or a trade of some sort. Because I don't think there's a guy out there right now that they go, like a lot of people believe there won't be another tight end pick till the middle of the second round. And Pitts is almost a wide receiver. Now, if Kyle Pitts fell for some reason, somebody's going to take him maybe really early out of Florida. But that's the kind of guy. But everybody wants that kind of guy as the mismatch. So, yes. But, Dan, to your point, with all those other pass rushers, you can sign that guy and somebody else with the money, to your point, of being aggressive with JJ. Hey, we got money to spend. Don't kid yourself. We can still figure out a way to spend the money. And they might be more aggressive that way. But I think pass rushers may be the place they spend that money.
Yeah, I agree. But talking about the tight ends, there was a name that I saw that kind of like made sense to me. And it's Kyle Rudolph out of Minnesota. He's a guy that has had success. He's an older veteran guy. He was injured at the end of the season, not happy in Minnesota. It looks like he could be moving on, something like that. I could see him being a guy that he wasn't happy in his role in Minnesota. He was a lot more like of a blocking guy, someone that wants to still be more of a pass catcher, could teach Dawson Knox and the younger tight ends how to block, but also would have some of that shine of being a more active part of the offense. Just something to consider. That was a name that I was like, maybe.
Well, I think that's possibilities like that.
There's other players like that as well. I'm just saying, like, I think they will go for a more veteran type of player at that spot. And those are names that you're like, okay, like the Zach Ertz, that makes sense. There's other players that you're like, okay, I could see them fitting in with the Bills.
I think they need somebody that can
run,
spread the field, bring a speed element. And that's where I agree that you need a veteran. I agree, Jenna, that somebody has got to be able to try and get Dawson Knox to become a productive, consistent starter at the NFL level. I get that. I also just think you need somebody that can just make a play, and that's a playmaker at the tight end position. And that's where, like I said, Zach Ertz, Mike, more as a filet guy. But just the fact that is there enough left in his tank to make plays for an offense?
Yes. And he's 30. I mean, he's that's that age. He's never been a speed guy. He's a great route runner. He catches everything. He's made big plays in big games. He's not Travis Kelce. Like, right? You just sort of come up like, no, Kelce is that guy. You got to get a guy like Pitts if you want to replace a guy like Kelce.
Right.
Yeah.
But he is a great route runner, pass catcher, teammate, willing blocker, played in playoff games. Like, he's done all that. And he's not Jason Witten. I mean, he's not at the end, I mean, right. But I'm saying is like, he's not that guy. Jason Witten's going to go to the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Right. But not now. And you pay guys for what they can do, not for what they have done. But I still think Zach Ertz has one more contract in him because he will redo with whoever he went. And he's going to be out there. He may not be out there till June, but he's going to be out there. So keep that in mind. Like
I said, it's Kelce, it's Kittle, it's Waller, and then it's everybody else. Everybody else is trying to find one of those guys. So like I said, and that's where it is. And that's where it's like, well, the Chiefs are the Chiefs have Kelce. That's why they're so good. It's like they're good for a lot of reasons. Like you can't just say like the Chiefs are good because they have Kelce or so. And we'll get into the recency bias.
Well, I think that brings up a great point, though, of the other topic we wanted to discuss was with the Bucs winning the Super Bowl, does that change the way you view how you win it all in the NFL? And Dan, you're shaking your head.
Because when the Bills didn't sign J.J. Watt, everybody was, the people that would said, good riddance. Like, we don't need him. Like, it was like they were the ones that was like, they were the ones that got dumped and were like, you go, you don't need him. Like, you're great, team. You can do it. And then there were other people that were like, oh, well, they'll never get past Kansas City without a guy like J.J. Watt. And like, that's just not true. Like, and because everybody goes, well, look at how great the Bucs were. Look at how great the Bucs, they got pass rush. Like, that is the old way of thinking in the NFL. It's like, how do you beat Tom Brady? You get pressure up the middle. How do you beat any good quarterback? You get pressure on him. Like, if you can get pressure with 4 guys, congrats. Not every team can do that. And teams that don't get pressure with 4 guys still win games. They still go to Super Bowls. Like, that's not the only thing. It's not that thing that if you get it, you're like, we're good. We're all set. The one thing you need to go to the Super Bowl is a franchise quarterback. Once you have that, then you can move on. Like, look at the quarterbacks that have played in Super Bowls. That's the one constant. It's guys like Brady, and it's what?
I said the Eagles. I'm just being a counterpoint.
Hey, no, and you can catch lightning in a bottle. That's another option. But it's like, if you want to go, it's kind of like the NBA. You either have LeBron or you have, the other MVP. Like that's it. Like, how do you get to the finals? So when so many people come up to me and they say like, well, the Bucs defense was phenomenal. They're phenomenal. They were 8th in the NFL in the regular season with 22.2 points allowed per game. The Bills, and everybody thought their defense wasn't great, 23 points allowed per game, 0.8 point difference. So like, to sit here and say like the Bucs defense was unbelievable because they shut Patrick Mahomes out for one game is it's such tunnel vision. Like, I know it's the last game, so that's all that we're thinking about. Mm-hmm. And we go, well, the Bucs ran the ball. That's what you need to win the Super Bowl. You need to run the ball. The Bucs were 28th in the NFL in rushing yards per game. And they averaged under 100 yards per game running. And we're sitting here to be like, they're the model. They're not.
Okay. You're making good points. Dan, you're making good points about, and statistically, but we all know you can make stats look any way you want. The good thing for the Bucs is they got better defensively as it went on. But I look at even their playoff run. That pitiful Washington team, and I say pitiful because obviously the whole division was pitiful, was in the game with them in the playoffs. They should have lost to New Orleans. Green Bay handed them the game after Brady threw 3 picks.
Yeah.
Not taking away the Bucs championship. I'm saying at any moment with a play or two, they would have gotten knocked out before they ever made it to the Super Bowl. Brady's awesome. Gronk had the fountain of youth for a couple of games, and they got everything right. Now, Chris Godwin's probably going to leave and all the other stuff that goes on, but they had a lot of things go their way. Can you win that way? Absolutely. When you have that D-line and that coordinator and at the right time and the right moment with, by the way, what we've seen, Patrick Mahomes, I believe, was playing on one leg, right, during the game. He couldn't walk. Was it that bad? I mean, we talked about it before. What did I say when Mahomes hurt his toe? I said, you're going to hear he has surgery in the offseason. Oh, my God, Mahomes had surgery. Yeah, like 1,000 other guys have surgery in the offseason.
Mahomes also ran for 300 yards, running for his life. So he seemed pretty fine.
Yes. And he also had that same injury when he played the Bills, and he moved around just fine in that game. Yeah. But my point is look, when we've looked at the Chiefs the last 3 years, they've kind of been the best team for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct.
In total, with Mahomes and their offense. And they blew one year, they won it the next, and they lost to Tampa the third. I mean, it's kind of like but that team, I think you all kind of agree. And even when you look to next year, you're like, okay, they're still the Chiefs. Tampa ain't going to the Super Bowl. They're not winning the Super Bowl next year. I'm telling you now, it's not going to happen. So they do not look like a repeat team to me. And so to your point of what it takes to get it done, the Bills are more on pace for what it takes to get it done than Tampa is.
100%. And my take is, as I've said it a couple times on here, is that like You don't need to be the most balanced team to win a Super Bowl or to go to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs, Mike, over the last 3 years have not been the most balanced team. They have a bottom tier defense. They had the worst red zone defense in the NFL this year.
Yeah.
Like, don't sit here and tell me that the Chiefs shut out teams. No, they get into gunfights with teams and Mahomes pulls it out. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. So this fact of people being like, you have to address the D-line. You've got to do all these things to get over the hump. The Bills are close. Like, I would almost put more effort, Jenna, into the offensive line protecting Josh Allen, getting another weapon for Josh Allen, another weapon. That's what I'm talking about. Like, whether that is a running back, whether that's a tight end, because that's how you win in this modern NFL. The days of running the ball, stopping the run, and don't turn it over, and Trent Dilfer will win you a Super Bowl with Ray Lewis and the best defense in history behind you doesn't happen anymore. It's 2021.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think to your point, the talent in terms of what was on the field, like, especially when you look at the Chiefs and you do look at the Bucs, like the offensive talent in particular is something that stands out because, like you said, the Chiefs weren't winning these defensive grinded out games. They were in a shootout and they had the ability to score. So yeah, I think for me, and this is not what did you learn from the Bucs? It's just what have you learned from watching the NFL for the last 10 years, the transition of it's offensively led. If you're going to win the Super Bowl, you say no?
No, I agree. And that's
I thought you said no.
I agree 100%. And that was why I talked about JJ Watt. Like, he doesn't make the Bills Super Bowl contenders. Do you know how I know that? Because the Cardinals are not Super Bowl contenders right now because JJ Watt is on their team. That's it. They have the number. They have a great wide receiver. They have a 3-time defensive player of the year. They're still not Super Bowl favorites.
Yeah, here's what I will say. When we compare other sports, especially basketball, I think the one thing you do have to keep in mind is you're playing 7-game series. Injuries are usually not as big a factor, though we have seen that happen in the NBA before, like when the Warriors the one year in the finals and everybody got hurt and all those things. In the NFL, and the Bucs are a good example, like it's one matchup, it's 1 week, and they get it done. I don't know how many times in a best-of-7 series Tampa beats Kansas City, whenever it is, but you don't need to do that in the NFL. So you can get a champion who gets hot at the right time, wins a few games. We saw the Giants do it. We saw the Eagles do it that year. We see Tampa do it. It can happen. It isn't always the team that was the best or close to the best all year. There's where I think the difference is. But I will say elements of what the Tampa Bay Bucs do, I do think would help the Bills. But name me a position on the team that you couldn't get a little bit better. Right? I mean, every position, if you had a little more of this, a little more of that, but I'm with you with Dan on this. I think their offense is a strength, but it can be better. And it might just be 5% of a few things, including running the ball, tight end position, maybe better offensive line play, maybe Josh Allen, like even a little bit better. And then you're so good offensively like the Chiefs that you just overwhelm teams. And the defense goes along for the ride and makes a few plays and you win.
Every team is retooling to get better. And the Bills did a great job of retooling their offense last season and getting better. But once again, you're starting not over, but you have to continue to grow and to get better because the goalposts continue to move back with the team continuing to hit achievements that they haven't hit in decades.
It's interesting.
That's the fun part about it. Like that's the exciting part. But I think when you look at it, like the NFL has changed and it is about scoring points and about all those things. I also think it too is, and I know it's so cliche, but like playing your best ball at the right time.
Oh, that's right.
It's so important and it's so funny because it is. 100%. You hear football coaches talk about it all the time. We're going to take it one game at a time. We still haven't played our best, but like that was the best game the Bucs had played all year. We were talking about, will the Bucs even make the playoffs? But they figured it out. And that's what great teams do is they continue to get better and evolve throughout the season.
Okay. Can we say this? If we take a fair 10,000 foot view on the Bills, they survived against the Colts. They survived against the Ravens. I mean, I can say the same thing with the Bills that I just said about Tampa Bay, but it's one game. We've talked. That's why I said the AFC was a minefield. Like Tampa's or Indianapolis is good. And they believe next year they can beat the Bills. Baltimore is good. They believe they can beat them. And it's play that
the
game
Dolphins
again.
didn't make the playoffs,
Of
but like,
course. So to Jenna's point, playing your best at the right time, Josh Allen did not play his best in the playoffs.
Correct.
He had a great year, but if you want to be, if you're a Dolphins fan and you're looking at the Bills, you're going, you know what? Playoff Josh Allen isn't as good.
Mm-hmm.
He was right. And
yeah.
you want to hold on to that. You can see that. So Jenna, you're right. Like it is a lot of those things. It's health. It's playing the best at the right time. It's these little elements. Somebody makes a play. That's where the NFL is different than every other sport because it's one game and so many factors go into it.
And I talked about the Bucs not being the most balanced team, and somebody on Twitter asked me, well, then who is the most balanced team? And it was a really good question. And I went down to it. Probably the Colts.
That's what I was going to say, the Colts.
The Colts may have been the best team running, passing, quarterback play, defense.
Yeah.
They had some holes in their secondary. The Saints were also really well balanced. Breeze was probably the anchor holding them back, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And maybe the Packers defense was kind of hit and miss like it always is. But like you look at those teams and like they're pretty balanced. And like all of those teams are more balanced than the Chiefs. And they were probably better throughout the year than they were the Bucs. And that goes to Jenna's point of it's who's hot at the right time. Like we have seen wild card teams win that first round playoff game, whether you have a team that already has locked up the first round bye, they rest their starters in week 17, they're 2 weeks, it's that rest versus rust. All of those things plays into it. The recency bias bugs me to no end, where people point to that's how you win the Super Bowl because that's how the Bucs did it. And and I get it, but that's just not how it works.
You're so right. Yeah, you're so right. And that's why when that game ends, people start talking about rematches. And I'll quote Rocky, ain't going to be no rematch, right? It's just not happening. It happened with the Bills and the Cowboys in the 90s. It hasn't happened since then. There's no rematches. As great as these teams were and made their runs, and you make the video and everybody's all excited going into the game, only one of them wins. And if you replayed the playoffs again, those two teams aren't making it back. It's just not. But in the NBA, for those few years, you could replay it 5 times. It was still going to be Cleveland against Golden State. Yeah. Because that's the way it goes. So, yeah.
Well, that's why the NFL is the best.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
It's built for parity, and every year it usually shows that. All right, well, let's wrap up here. If you liked this podcast, be sure to like it. If not, you don't have to. But we always appreciate the comments as well. If you want to subscribe, that'd be great. If you enjoy our content. For Mike Catalana and Dan Fetes, I am Jenna Cottrell. We'll have plenty more as the Bills continue to build this offseason. Be sure to check out buffaloplus.com and, of course, our YouTube page, Buffalo Plus. Thanks for watching and listening.